And I'm going to share with you the best magic trick in the world. Check it out. It involves a deck of playing cards, and you can see that they're all different and well mixed on one side, and of course all the same on the other. So the other day I saw a magician, and he was so cool because he cut the 10 of clubs to the front of a pack like so, and he placed it into a little container so that the cards remain isolated. Then what he did was he took that 10 of clubs, he placed it somewhere back into the pack, he took a scarf, placed it in front of the cards like so, and when he pulled down the scarf, the 10 of clubs had come back to the front of the pack again. Well, I thought that was amazing. So I went backstage and asked him. I said, "Sir," because that was his name, "can you show me the effect where you take a 10 of clubs, you place it somewhere into the pack, you cover the pack like so, and then when you pull away the handkerchief, the 10 of clubs comes to the front?" Well, he said to me, "Do you mean the effect where I take the 10 of clubs, I place it somewhere into the pack like so, then I cover the pack, I pull away the fabric, and the 10 of clubs is back at the front?" And I said, "Yes, that's the one." And he said to me, "Well, you know, it's not really that very difficult to do." He says, "All you need to do is just take a bunch of the cards, take the 10 of clubs, place it to the back like so." And he handed me the holder, and I placed the scarf over the holder like so. And I said to him, "Will it work?" And he said, "Give it a shot." And I pulled away the scarf, and there was a joker. And I said, "Well, no one's going to go to see a magician bring a joker to the front of the pack." So he said, "Well, I'll just show you that again. You take the joker, put it to the inside somewhere in the pack, you cover the pack with a scarf, you pull away the scarf, and there's the 10 of clubs." So he never shared with me how he did that, so I can't show you that trick today. An interview with Matt Tesoro and James Allen.
Please welcome Matt Tesoro.
I've actually chosen to direct my fake psychic powers to knowing one thing and one thing only. I know the color of these people's underwear.
It's okay if you're not wearing any, man. We'll sort that out. Here we go. On the count of 3, 1, 2. You say that? You're laughing because it's not your jacket. I know it seems off. This is actually the world's smartest card-finding rubber chicken. It will find your card, Deborah, while hanging upside down, and dancing. You make the chicken feel more at home.
Can you guess their underwear?
If I let that secret, there are secrets, and then there are secrets.
Right. All right.
Magic words today, I think, will be picto. Well, I got yours. You got mine.
And I'm going to give you the ocean blue. Now, look, I gave you each a card. If I gave you the card that you wrote on, if I gave you the card that corresponds to the underwear you're wearing, please return to your seats now.
If I had magic powers, they would be yours, Matt. They would be yours.
And he said, and I will never forget this, "Son, I reckon I can show you something with that there deck of cards you ain't never seen before."
Now,
The reason we're doing this is a few years ago I was waiting in an airport lounge.
Voilà. Et voici le.
We're really trying to block all this blue light out.
And to smash all the... Yeah, great, okay. He really did use the words ain't and reckon in a sentence. Double knot?
Double knot.
He was also blind. But if you don't want to know where that comes from, you really don't want to know where these come from.
Now learn from your mistakes. Good. It was the great moral philosopher Homer Simpson who said that the cause of and solution to all of life's problems was alcohol.
So do the ends.
He caught it in the air, blindfolded.
And welcome back. We've got two special guests today instead of one special guest. And it kind of waxes nostalgic for me because they're both from TO. They're both from Toronto. For people watching this, that's more eastern area of Canada as opposed to western where we're broadcasting from. And I'm just jealous they're still there because I belong to some amazing magic clubs as well. Don't get me wrong, but I belonged or actually hung out very briefly with when it was called the Hat and Rabbit Club before the Sid Lorraine Hat and Rabbit Club back in 80-81 in TO. So I want to introduce to all of you, in case you've not seen them, I'm sure you have, James Allen and Matt DeCero. And how you doing, guys? Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. Pleasure.
I don't know where to start, so I'm gonna be very spontaneous. Let's start with James, who for the longest time, not the longest time, it was one time I hit up the Hat and Rabbit Club, the Sid Lorraine Hat and Rabbit Club, and I kept calling him, Allen instead of James Allen, and not to be confused with Jamie Allen, that's a whole other thing. But we have James Allen today. He's looking depressed. Stop talking. My wife.
If you flatter me, Mike, you can call me anything.
My wife watches this and she says to me, "Stop talking so much. Let your guests talk." So let's get into some cliche questions. I just have to do this. Your background in magic. How did you get excited about magic? We'll start with James, then we'll go to Matt.
Absolutely. So I read an essay in a book by Penn and Teller, by Teller, and he was talking about practicing the cups and balls while he was staying with Bob Reed in England. And I was really interested by this idea, and I discovered, this was back in the days when you couldn't Google absolutely everything, but I lived around the corner from something called Morrissey Magic. And they have a thing with cups and balls, you might have heard. And you go in there. And it turns out after that secrets are kind of addictive. And then one thing led to another, and yes. So now I eat, sleep, and breathe magic.
I hear you. I'm going to briefly tell you the first time I walked into Morrissey Magic in TO, I think there used to be more than one location back then, and certainly one in Montreal. But he was actually there. I didn't know it was him. I was brand new again into magic. I started when I was 14 and then quit for many, many years, got back into it in my early 20s. I walk in and he's there. And he reminded me a little bit of David Carradine's dad, this old actor, I forget his name. And he was very skinny and gaunt and very, like this. And I walk in and I stupidly say, "Are you a magician?" And
That'll make Herb want to sell you some stuff.
and he goes like this, and he goes, of course. So that was my first introduction to Herb Morrissey. Matt, how did you get into magic? When did you first get the magic bug, and how?
Not as academic as James, of course. My great uncle worked at the sideshow at the CNE, eating fire, swallowing swords, and doing magic. And black sheep of the family that he was gave me Amateur Magician's Handbook, Henry Hayes' book.
Yes.
That brought me into it, and then regular trips to Morrissey Magic became the the heroin shot every week. And when you're an out of place kid in high school, you just look forward for a place to go to where you're welcomed. And I smoked, and so did Herb, and Dave Peck and Danny Morrissey skateboarded like me, and that's how we all hung out. And that's the place. That's how it happened. So just like everybody, I think, going to the magic shop early on, and then in high school, I was like, nah, I'm doing this for a living. I'm not doing anything else, and I never have.
Absolutely. I want to address this for both you guys. We're so lucky to have the internet because I know for a fact there's so many towns, smaller towns in the States and Canada, etc. Excuse me. And they're nowhere near a magic shop. There's not even one, not even half a magic shop. And fortunately, a kid today, if they have internet, or an adult, they can just click on and look stuff up. How do you feel about, there's a difference between exposure and learning, and we can debate ad infinitum, and if we have a few hours we might, but we don't have a few hours. There's a fine line between exposure. I love, personally, Jay Sankey. He's a TO boy, originally from Montreal. And he's got dozens and dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of effects on YouTube, weekly virtually. And I don't see that as exposure, because he's kind of aiming it at amateur or hobbyists or young folk. But yet, there is a fine line. You see these guys online, and they're giving away some tricks that we do. I was shocked to see, I can't say the name of the trick, because it's one I do, and now everyone will be doing it out there, better than me, no doubt.
Paul Matassi silks.
Oh no! Remember Baffling Bra? I did that for family shows.
I feel like the thing is, though, it doesn't really matter. Secrets have always been given away. In the back of cigarette packages and chewing tobacco. James would probably know the etymology, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if all you've got is secrets, you don't have much. So, they can take the bucket, but they can't take the well. So they'll take the trick, come up with something else. Look, James has books behind him enough for 10 magic shows, maybe more.
I know, we were drooling over all those books.
Tarbell right there alone, there's 25,000 acts in that thing.
At least.
Yeah, that's right. Did you know, James, I used to live near David Ben, as you probably know. And I was in between houses. I went to an apartment for a year because my life had fallen apart dramatically. And I was like, I need to go to an apartment just to get my life together. And it was infested with cockroaches. Didn't know this apartment was there. Didn't know the cockroaches were in the apartment. And they laid eggs in all my magic books. I had to throw them out. And I have a very fond memory of standing at the dump, at the Toronto City dump at Eglinton and Keele, and throwing one at a time each one of those books over the ledge into the pit, just watching magic book after magic book. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. What am I supposed to do, right? Like, I can't take them to my new house. I just bought a brand new home. I'm not going to do it.
That must have hurt.
Yeah, all those Tarbells, every time I see them, I just think of me tossing these books over the pit.
That must have
We need a moment of silence for you, Matt. Yeah, maybe
books that went over the edge.
It really was terrible.
So James, let's talk a little bit about magic history, if you will.
Sure.
We were kind of segueing. I didn't want to make it so obvious, but where did you learn your first magic trick? Was it on the back of a matchbox? I don't think so, but I think I was 8 or 9, and they were giving away these Blackstone Senior, by the way, tricks. I don't know if they were in cereal boxes or what, but it was very popular back then, this access to magic tricks. Back in the day in the 60s when some people out there will know the name Fantasio. Certainly the magicians will.
I saw him lecture. Herb brought him into lecture.
No. When was this?
1989 or 90. It's where I think it was the first out of the magic shop magic lecture that I saw at the at 401 and 400 at the hotel there. Dave Peck and I went. Oddly enough.
Yeah. Oh,
He was
so
a great lecture
cool.
live. He was fantastic.
Back in Florida, I guess in the 80s, I had a friend, you probably know Andrea Friedman, who owned a really cool magic shop in Florida. Yes, there was something else beside Paul Diamond's shop. And she showed me this little mistmade. It was a short mistmade lady. It's an illusion for the lay people out there, where parts are disembodied and then, put back together in the wrong order. And it was Fantasio's daughter that illusion was built for. And she was very small, so I'd never seen a miniature, relatively mini. I could almost fit in that thing. I'm virtually, I'm not full size here. Or actually, I'm actual size. If you see me in real life, this is it. I'm about 4 inches high.
3 apples high.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing to see, this mismade lady made for a 4 foot tall or less person. I'm going to ask you guys one at a time, bigger illusions or close-up. Do you have a preference? Matt first.
I mean, I've dabbled, I guess, in a little bit of everything along the way. I fell out of love with close-up magic for a good long while because of a falling out with someone. And as a result of that, but I was never really, I've always been a parlor platform. I mean, in the last decade or so, I've regularly worked for audiences of 800, 1,000 or more, but no big illusions. Generally out of a flight case. So I guess what am I? Hofzinser? Is that what I am? I just want to be in the drawing room. Is that it? I guess I don't know.
And James?
Yes.
What about James? Close-up or stage? What do you prefer? I've seen your promo material, so I kind of know what you guys are into. But for those of you out there that are not that familiar with them, let's get a feel. Let's find out.
Yeah, I never fell out of love with close-up, and for the last 4 years, I did a show called Magic and Martini, which was limited to about 25, 30 people, and that was something I really, and I did bigger stuff for corporate and one-off things, but that was my regular show that I did week to week, and people could buy tickets to. So that was really something. And when you can see individual people, and you can sort of, you can go through the room and you can make eye contact with people, and by the end of the show, you know the names of most everyone in that room, that's something I really enjoy. And I was sort of surprised before Life Got Strange. I was doing a really surprising number of house parties where it was like under 10 people. And so I started coming up with a show that was actually sitting around on couches and a coffee table. And that was the sort of show that I was doing, 2 times a month, 3 times a month. Well, yeah, except I'm somewhere halfway between like Goshman and Hofzinser, I guess. I don't know. But like, I'm not sitting behind a table. I can't hide stuff. I'm just sort of, everything is out there and just sitting, and to be able to do stuff that people can touch and feel, and everything is hands-on and everything is their choices. So I was really, enjoying doing that. And so when it came time to start doing my virtual show is basically all close-up magic. Like, I'm not doing a digital version of the Magic and Martini show. I'm doing all mostly close-up sleight of hand type stuff. So I know I love close-up through and through, and I will go to the mat as a finger flicker any day of the week.
Perfect. We're going to take a break for a few seconds, and when we come back, we're going to talk more with Matt DeZero and James Allen. Don't you dare go away.
Enjoy Magic Mike Likey's animated cartoons, comic books, CDs, and DVDs available from Amazon. He's also the author of more than 45 self-help alternative wellness books, as well as instructional magic books, all available from Amazon. Published in International Magicians trade journals, Magic Mike Likey is a member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians and the Society of American Magicians.
And we're back with fabulous guests this week. It's Matt DeZero and James Allen. How you guys doing?
Well, slightly less fabulous than Matt. He is the champion of fabulousness.
As is the always.
I love it. Let's talk more about gigs, because Back, when was it? In the 80s and 90s, that was kind of my peak when I'd moved to Winnipeg from TO.
I don't remember the 80s. Too many Flintstones chewable vitamins.
That's either a good thing or maybe you were too young. For me, I was too old.
You ultimately missed the heyday. You missed the 80s and 90s until even really through the recession. There were gigs everywhere. It was a great time to work.
Absolutely. At one point, well, actually, for about 10 years in Winnipeg, you wouldn't think that Winnipeg would be a mecca for magic. But if you know your history, and I know you do, the IBM started there. Doug Henning is originally from Winnipeg and so forth. But in any case, I was doing about 250 shows a year for about 10 years, plus the TV show for 9 years it was, plus broadcast television for 3 years, all this at the same time. And it was a very exciting time. And I was doing close-up and stage. And just before the break, we were talking about close-up or stage, which do you prefer? I started off doing close-up as well. I love close-up. How many audience members or people that you associate with have said to you, it's right under my nose, it's right there, it's more accessible than, say, those big, large stage illusions. But we're also, as magicians, excited by large stage illusions. As theater people, I'm sure we love the lights and we love looking at it, and I used to do large illusions as well. But nowadays, with the move to virtual magic, which is a weird name in itself, because is it real magic or is it kind of virtual? Like, is it a pigment of our imagination or what?
It's virtually performing.
Exactly. But it's an exciting time, and I've had this conversation with every magician, both live and dead. No, both live and in this series, the pros and cons. And I saw virtual magic as an excellent opportunity for those of us who love TV, who have done TV, to showcase. And I think it was James, before we went to break, who said something about liking platform and whatnot, but doing close-up virtually. And this if you will, this medium of virtual magic lends itself to close-up really nicely. We can ditch or we can lap. Hopefully lay people don't know what I'm talking about. And no one knows. It's perfect. Plus, you can reach right out there and show a card, or you could do whatever. The only problem is getting an audience or getting them to participate. Sometimes I'll have my wife come in and pick a card or whatever, but I still like to keep it sort of like this. I think it was last year I did a virtual show for a fundraiser for an organization in New York City, and rather than taking advantage of this setup, if you will, I did a platform kind of thing. So I was standing, you could see me from my thighs up, hardly intimate. This is more intimate, and so I can kick my butt for that, kick my own butt before other people do. Are you enjoying?
I do virtual shows, though. I do the 3/4 shot standing up. James does them sitting down. It just depends on whatever you like, right? And really, it's all about connection. I think James and I would agree. If you don't connect with the audience, you're not getting anywhere.
That's number one.
Whatever you got to do to make that happen, this you got to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, I like the sitting down at a desk because it makes me, I am one of them. They're sitting at their computer on Zoom, and I'm sitting at a desk on there. I mean, I have, more distance, more camera, more lights, whatever, but I'm basically just, one of them slightly more dressed up. And it's a nice feeling of being together. I mean, I find if you have a group of people and they already know each other, then virtual stuff is fantastic, and you get this real sense of connection. And even though, I can compare my virtual show to my live show, either close-up or parlor, and it is definitely not the same, but at the same time, you can totally feel from what people say to you afterwards that this is so much, that in these times, this is so much something people need, and to be able to provide that is, like, wonderful. The other thing is I'm a math person, and so, like, when you stand further back from your screen, if I make this screen twice as tall, I am making my face 1/4 the size.
Yes, Absolutely.
And so the amount of screen that I'm taking up is much, 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 much lower. And so there's this thing, so I have to get my table as close to my face as I can. But if you go too far, then you look like this, trying to do things, and you look like a child that's too short for your own apartment. So you sort of have to cheat, and the way, I cheat because I have a standing desk. I can adjust the height and get it exactly where I want it. But it is a real problem to sort of create this illusion that this is just, me sitting at a table that happens to be in my house, when in fact, no, it has to be lit really carefully, and I had to adjust the height of the table and all that stuff. So it's real and it's genuine, it's fake. And also, I mean, this is the only 8 feet of my apartment that's actually presentable. You go 16 inches that way, just complete chaos.
That's hilarious. I do find now we're gonna have a generation of people who think every act always knows that it's what's in the image, right? And so when I'm coming up with stuff, my image always for the last 30 years is the square of the stage, right? And that's how I always think. Like, will I move left, right, upstage, downstage? How will I put everything? And now I think you're going to have a generation of people going, this is the image, and how do we build for that? So it's a whole different type of thing. Like, part of my reason that I don't like virtual is I can't spool up to get the energy to perform like I used to. But maybe this will be a whole new thing now. Maybe it'll be like, I can do that.
I mean, my fear is I think we're probably going to have 6 months of hybrid events where you will be at a live event, but you're also going to have a camera on you, and so you're basically you could be on a big enough stage, but you're basically glued in place where you can't really move because you have to stay in the camera shot while the people are at home.
I saw some photos of a real, actual hybrid show. Can't say from who or where, but at the end of the day, there was like 600 people spaced out in this massive convention space. And in front of the stage were screens, and the performer stood on the screen, or on the stage, but it's all green screen. He could move anywhere he wanted, but the entire stage was green. So in the image on the screens that people were looking at home or in their hotel rooms, it looked amazing. But for the 600 people who were there, you're just constantly looking at green. It was too much. So I don't think hybrid's going to be all that better. In fact, I think I would pick Zoom over that.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure why you need a green screen for a hybrid, but what you definitely need is a cameraman.
Yeah, you need the green screen. In this case, they needed the green screen for hybrid because, the company logo and the fake backdrop and stuff is all there. So more people, let's say 1,000 or 1,500, are watching from the hotel room. So they need to, they get to see it like I'm looking at you with books and stuff and behind, whereas people live are just looking at it as green.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I made the conscious choice that my background is real. Like, these are functional. Yeah, you can hit people with these. Well, you can't. It's virtual. I didn't want to do green screen. I didn't want to do backdrop. I wanted to be in the space that I was in. Like, this is the apartment I really do.
But as an audience member, do you want to look at someone, no matter how good they are, for 45 minutes, just staring at green in the background? Right?
It's hard on the eyes, but as well, I want to get into a little bit Magic Club meetings, because a lot of the guys and girls that watch this series belong to the Magic Clubs, the local Magic Clubs, the international ones, etc. And obviously, it's shifted to virtual meetings as opposed to in-person meetings. At first, I hated that. Don't get me wrong, I love virtual magic and Zoom magic and all that sort of thing. However, like Matt said, I believe it was Matt, the energy, okay, it's not the same as hanging out with the guys and showing tricks, and your energy is building and you're laughing and whatever. It's a very regimented sort of thing, and it's weird to see a screen much like this, if you will, of like 20 or 50, or in some cases larger magic meetings, hundreds, little boxes, and it's like, okay, are they real? I want to knock on the window. What's going on? So it's a little bit disarming, for sure, but where is it gonna go? When the pandemic is under control and it is over, and I suspect that won't be till probably the end of this year, hopefully sooner, will we have a hybrid? Sort of a combination? Will there be in the live meetings a screen, and those who are unable to attend will have Zoom? I personally would like to see that. What are your feelings about that?
Well, maybe I'll go first because I'm actually the president of the club in Toronto. I have been for the last few years, and maybe Matt, you can finish because Matt is going to become the president next year. No, I've said it. This will go out. It's on the internet. It must be true. But yeah, so we when this started, we took sort of half of a year off. Didn't know quite what to do. We just sort of had a couple of Zoom meetings where we checked in with people, and we sort of we knew who some of our older members were who were living alone and just making sure they were doing okay. And in September, we went to Zoom, and we're kind of sort of going 1 month at a time. And even, I think, we might go to 1 month real, 1 month Zoom, because even if life sort of starts to come back to normal, travel restrictions will be 4 to 6 months behind that. So even if we can get together in person, nobody can come lecture for us.
Yes.
And so we're still looking at virtual lectures for another while. And I mean, I find the thing you have to stop yourself from doing is you have to stop comparing what things were before to what they are now. Because it's as though somehow if we thought about it hard enough, we could just pretend the virus wasn't there and go back to doing things. But well, no, you're comparing.
We can do that with the magic of this.
Yes, you can. So for what they are, it's fine. And I find, I mean, maybe this is just me personally, that it ebbs and flows. And so my patience for virtual in freezing cold Canadian winter is different from my patience for virtual when I'm allowed to go out and do outdoor dining in a well-ventilated area in the summer where I can also go for walks and I can have my bubble of 10 people. So right now, I mean, to fix this in time, we're in like week 7 or week 12, depending on how you count in Toronto, of a very restrictive stay-at-home order. So right now, Zoom meetings are fantastic. If I can go to the park and see the ducks, Zoom meetings are kind of lame. And I think it ebbs and flows depending on what exactly is going on for the people in your area. And I've been doing Zoom shows, and I can definitely feel the difference where I go to somewhere like New York or California, where it's currently very restrictive, and I go to one of those states where we know their government is not taking things as seriously, and they have a totally different mood. I mean, I did a show for a group in Australia, New Year's Eve. They had 8 people in a room together. That's unimaginable, and they didn't live together.
I haven't held that in forever.
I haven't held that in forever. And they're like, and their thing was, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But it was a very, very different feel because they can still go to the mall, and so you just have to put it in its context, and it really is. I mean, we have done some. We've had some really fun lectures. We did a fundraiser in December where we got members of the club to record themselves. You will love this story. So we did a fundraiser for the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation in December, and we did a live stream, except it was a fake live stream. Absolutely everything was pre-recorded, including the hosting. I was the host. I was sitting behind this desk, and I was in a 3-piece suit. Everything was completely edited together. I was watching the live stream in my sweatpants, just reading the comments on YouTube, but everything was very rated.
5 times. You changed your outfit like 5 times, and no one...
No, I changed my outfit 18
your tie.
times.
It was your tie, right? Did you
I kept changing. I changed the tie between every act. My lapel button changed, and because between David and Ian and also Jonah, they have tricks with citrus fruit. So the longer the show went on, there was more citrus fruit piling up everywhere around me.
You should have told me that. I would have done something with fruit. I would have done something with a watermelon. You know what I mean?
There was a bottle of Gatorade on the shelf.
Oh, good.
So
I didn't recognize that.
But no, we did a fake live stream, and that idea, and we raised $7,000. That idea never would have occurred to us. And that was a whole lot of fun. And we've had regular lectures where we've had a lecture from France, we've had a lecture from Argentina. And the one that was really the most interesting was we had Mike Caveney and Tina Leonard, and we had in Toronto the giant exhibition of magic posters, the giant stone lithography things that are now in a collection at the McCord Museum in Montreal. And Mike Caveney knows the history inside and out of those posters and that collection in particular. And so he came in and he just basically told us the history. And if you want to think about the way magic lectures work, I mean, would we have flown Mike Caveney to Toronto to do a slideshow about magic? And people love that, like, you know, more than just about any lecture I can remember in the past 4 years.
Like, I don't know, I didn't watch it because I've been to Caveney's house, so I've got the lecture in person. But he's super infectious. Like, he loves this stuff, and he's probably one of those guys that could transcend Zoom, right? Like,
no, but like he has nothing to sell except for like a 19-pound book that he can't bring with him. I mean, that never would have made sense as a conventional magic lecture. I'm not even sure a magic convention would have been interested in that. It's just sort of a thing. And we were able to do that. So it's changing things, and it's opening up possibilities. So it is exciting. At the same time, it's also miserable, and it's a shadow of its former self. And I mean, I had some very dear friends who live like a 10-minute walk from here, and they had a wonderful idea that they were going to do a virtual convention, and it was great. And they phoned up all their friends, and they had zillions of wonderful people tell them yes. Unfortunately, what they didn't sort of take into account, and it was a lot of fun, I was there, but it was 13 hours. And if you wanted to not miss anything, it meant you had to spend 13 hours sitting at your computer.
Yikes.
that sounds unconventional.
Oh.
It was very unconventional, and they're doing it again, and they've shortened it. But that's the thing, is like everything is different, and sometimes it's different good, and sometimes it's different bad. And I remember, like, when this started. I mean, I remember personally being just very down and negative on all of this, because, you know, you watch the first 3 months, all of the virtual shows were junk.
Yes. Yes.
And then people sort of slowly started to figure it out and sorts of things. And I think of, like, I've done now at this point, I think I'm coming up on about 200 virtual shows.
Wow.
And my virtual show, and people are loving it. I still think it's junk. But I can sort of, you know...
And that's my gripe with virtual.
Yeah,
right?
But it's not living up...
Classes is good.
It's not living up to my artistic ideals, but at the same time, I can see it in the feedback that I get that I am providing something that people really, really, really crave when they can't be close together in person. So in the world that we're in, virtual shows are wonderful. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you think of just like the most basic thing, which is, I'm going to put a sponge ball in my hand and a sponge ball in your hand, gone, you have two. I mean, that is a, you know, beginner level magic trick that is a staple of every teenage restaurant worker. You compare my virtual show to
it doesn't compare.
My show is crap.
Yeah.
But you know, I've still been having a lot of fun, and you know, I've gotten to do my show now in 14 different countries. So, I mean, it's amazing.
I've had a few celebrities drop in on mine, and that's been interesting to see if I can make them laugh. That's my new, I'm like, hey, there's Whoopi Goldberg. Can I make her laugh? Can I? And then you're watching to see. I'm like, just give me a laugh. Okay. I got to laugh. All right. And then that's it. That's all I got to look forward to. I actually do enjoy it. And you know what, James? You're actually right about the whole winter thing. This is the first time in 30 years I have done a December where I did not get in the car and take my life in my hand driving through a snow or an ice storm to get to a gig. It's been kind of nice. I sat at home. One day I did 3 shows, and in between them I'm sitting on my lazy boy in my underwear. You know, it's pretty good.
I love it. So
Not a good image. Not a good image for you.
Unfortunately, it's burnt into my mind now.
Casey, will you send us photos so that we can put that, edit that into the stream?
I love it. I love it. So there's pros and cons to virtual magic, of course. And I want to quickly discuss with you guys where you want to go. Don't say Mississauga. I've worked out there for the Mississauga News years ago. I
live on the border of Mississauga.
Oh, really? The drivers were nuts back in 80, 81. They were worse than Montreal drivers. I could say that as a Montrealer. And scared the heck out of me. You couldn't even cross the street to the new Square One at the time. It was brand new. Where do you want to go, Matt? Where do you see yourself, say, in the next 6 months? And what sort of show do you want to promote? I've seen your chicken. I love, if you'll pardon the expression, I've seen I love that shtick. It's foul, but it's okay. And I'm sure you haven't heard that
I
before.
got all the puns, baby.
Yeah.
I got them all.
Yeah, I know. So, what do you want to do? What show are you promoting currently? And then we'll ask James.
I'm not doing a lot of virtual shows, so I don't have much to promote. Sort of eschew them. But yeah, I mean, where I'd like to be is back on stage on a ship or a theater or even in a comedy club. But in the meantime, you know, on the back end, I've been writing stuff for me. I've been working on a small television show, writing there. So that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. I don't have any, I'm not unrealistic. I know I'm not going to be on stage for another year. So to say 6 months out, I can tell you I'll be exactly right here, working on, you know, Tassie's silks or Slidini's silks or whatever I'm deciding to do. So like that's it. Yeah, I don't have, I mean, I will do, yeah, maybe in 6 months time, I'm hoping for more corporate events and stuff like that. But public shows, I don't know if I'm keen on. And yeah, I don't think anything's going to change for me in a year. My act will change when I go back on stage. I have lots of changes for that. But in the meantime, nope, this is just I'm working on my act for when it comes live and spending my savings and investments while I do that.
I hear you. And James?
6 months. I mean, I think I might be vaccinated in 6 months. We'll see how that goes.
Hopefully.
You're too young. Never. You're not getting it until November, baby.
But if we start to see the thing, I mean, I was really, I was astonished in, you know, January and December of last year, and so 19 to 20. Time is an illusion. I don't know what day of the week it is at this point. But I was having a lot of fun doing smaller house parties, and that I think will be the first thing to come back, which is, you know, 7 people, 8 people, 10 people, whatever the limit is. And I had just started having a huge amount of fun with that show. And I think to go back to that would be really exciting and spend a lot, because I spent 4 years doing Magic and Martini, which was, you know, I made tweaks and I made adjustments and I took out a trick here and put in a trick there, but I was basically doing the same 75-minute show for 4 years. And so, you know, my brain was sort of saying, okay, you've got to sort of purge this out and you've got to work on something new. So I think, you know, the sort of the coffee table house party show, which as a magician is a huge challenge. Because if you are not sitting behind a table, if you are sitting on a sofa, there's nowhere to hide anything. Which is actually not true, but let's not
just ask Copperfield when he butchered Airtight on national television. Oh. Go on, James.
Oh.
No comment.
Bring it.
People want to contact you. I know you do. People want to contact these guys, Matt and James. Contact information, please, Matt.
MattDesero.com, DISERO.com, and all social media is something, Twitter / Matt Desero. It's easy. And that's it.
And James.
Yeah. JamesAllen.ca with that super weird spelling of Allen, and yeah, I'm sort of relatively easy to get a hold of because I'm sitting alone in my apartment all day, not doing much of anything.
But you're doing what I'm doing, right? You're going out for walks every day.
Yes, I think at one point I was doing like 70K a week.
Wow.
I have a 5-year-old. He can't walk that far, but we are doing the same thing. It's good for you. It's good to be.
Oh no, you take me. I take magicians on my walks, and by the ends, it's like I post the photos, and everyone says, "Oh, that looks so beautiful. Would you take me with you?" Well, you don't realize. I mean, I'm in Midtown Toronto, so to get to the pretty thing, I have to walk for an hour and then see the pretty thing, and then walk for an hour back. So I made a couple of enemies. Although one of them said, "Oh yeah, I took my girlfriend there. It was fantastic."
Can I tell you though, James, the downside of living next to the pretty things, I live across from a ravine, is 2 nights ago, a coyote hopped my fence.
Oh.
Ooh. We have coyote problems here. So like, you know, at least in the city, coyotes aren't coming to eat your children or small dogs.
It's true. What a great opportunity for us as magicians to reboot our act, our attitude, to sort of shift gears. That's how I see the virtual magic and these strange times such as they are. I want to thank my two very special guests who took the time to be with us today, Matt DeZero and James Allen. Hopefully we'll chat again in the not too distant future. And thank you out there for joining us. We'll see you soon. Let me tell you all now about a magical ball. We lived inside a castle with his dragon and lion that went to flight on a magical carpet ride. Hey boys, this one'll drive us batty. Oh, hey Wiz, what's shakin'? Seems that the king, not that king, it's Dracula, the king of the vampires, has recently moved into the basement of a local villager's home. It started with an infestation of bats, which was the first clue. Upon further investigation, the family discovered the old bat sleeping in their basement. After Dracula lost his job teaching night school, he found himself homeless and taking handouts. What do we do, Wiz? I'll have to battle Dracula, who, like me, is a skilled magician in a duel to the finish. So you mean the best magician wins? Yes, and the loser, hopefully Dracula, must evacuate the premises. Don't worry, he won't go homeless. I'll take him to the SPCA to be adopted. Oh, hey, Wiz, simply bodacious. Let's go, boys. It's nightfall, so he'll be roaming the countryside for a free meal at Bloody Mary's. There he is, boys. Okay, Count, draw. A one, amazing drawing. Two, amazing drawing. No, I mean draw, partner. Okay, boys, this is it, the grand finale. Looks like this place wasn't big enough for the two of us, Count. You were a big fish in a small pond.
What kind of fish is that, Wiz? Why, a bat fish, of course.
Let me tell you all now about a magical ball. We lived inside a castle with his dragon and lion that went to flight on a magical carpet ride. And we're back with another magic effect. How are you doing today?
Thank you.
Excellent. We're going to use a deck of playing cards like so, and we don't need the jokers. They only joke around. And I want to show you that they're all different on one side and all the same on the other. And I'm going to ask you, if you will, to say stop as I riffle through the cards like so. But don't wait until I get to the end, because then the cards will go springing in the air. Let's try that.
Stop.
Right there. Okay, I'm going to get you to remember that card. And I'm going to get all of you out there to remember the card as well. And it really doesn't matter what it is. At least it doesn't matter that I know what it is. Because I already knew before we started this segment what card you were going to pick. In fact, I drew it on this pad. You believe me?
I must.
There you go. Here's the pad. You must. Here's the pad. And I know it's just a box, but inside is your very same card. Isn't that impressive? Okay.
Will be.
Okay, let's see. We'll go like this and see what happens. We'll do that again. And you know, there's an illusion where you move the pad up and down a little bit, and it creates the illusion that the card begins to rise up. I think that's pretty amazing. But even more so, I'm going to show you that the 7 of Hearts is very much on the pack, like so. And I'm going to give you the very same 7 of Hearts, because now you have a souvenir. And there you go.